Hello, everyone, and welcome back down here to the Gamer's Den with me, your host, Jordan, your master of lore and storyteller extraordinaire. Joining me today is my most adorable co host, Nora. She's just kind of hanging out with me on this particular day. And, well, as I said in the description, with the chaos and mayhem of the last week, I didn't really have a whole lot of time to prepare much for my regular episodes. The DM guide, Fixing D20 Modern. I was looking at covering the Salvager class, but sadly, every bit of information I can find for the Salvager class, I get everything but the class defense bonus and the reputation bonus. And that is, I find that to be particularly problematic and throws me off, and I'm trying to find it so I can present complete and accurate information and make better fixes. But gotta find the information first, and I'm probably gonna have to just find a different class to cover. That, or maybe get into the advanced classes that I think actually work really well. And there's plenty of those. I mean, you have Field Officer, Shadow Slayer, oh, the Thrasher class. The Thrasher class was fantastic. Hello, Nora. Glad you're enjoying your show and your food. Oh, my goodness. But yeah, so hence, that's why I'm doing this right now. Joining all of you, and hopefully some of you will be joining me today. In the meantime, though, just kind of ramble on and go on about kind of whatever strikes my fancy in the moment. Probably mostly gaming related stuff. Been playing a lot of Cyberpunk lately. Well, I was, like I said, last week and a half or so, week, give or take. Haven't really gotten to play too much, but I'm actually thinking about probably doing my own review. Call it Late to the Game Reviews, or something like that. Uh, it's been a pretty solid game, but the problem is you can see that there's something really great right there, something really incredible, but the numerous bugs, the amount of fixes they've had to do, that and the missing features, it just you feel how good it is with the writing, the setting, the atmosphere is great, but it's missing enough that it makes the fact that there's a good, really incredible game there that could live up to most, if not all, the hype that was built around Cyberpunk. It just makes it feel that much more disappointing, if that makes any sense at all. So, I'll be looking forward to doing that review, even though it comes with some disappointed notes to it. Certainly, I think CD Projekt Red will work to try to make the game better, but that does mean delays for any updates, DLC, and other stuff that they had regularly planned. And when they started using the word roadmap to describe, the upcoming fixes, all I could think was, oh god, Anthem, Fallout 76. Not things you really want to get compared to or make people think of, but that's where my mind jumped to. It's unfortunate. It really is, because Mike Pondsmith, he and his whole team and all the people he worked with making these cyberpunk role-playing games, the tabletop role-playing games, it was just absolutely incredible. I love everything about it, though, gotta say, I've not played it myself. I've just read some of the books here and there. But everything's fantastic. I'm just a fan of the cyberpunk genre as a whole, if I'm being honest. So everything Mike Pondsmith had done should translate to an incredible game. And CD Projekt Red, after all their years of banging on about how they're the good corporation, just goes around, puts its employees through abusive years of crunch to try to pump out Cyberpunk 2077, and a lot of people thought the game was in development since 2012, but according to some reports coming out by Jason Schreier, if I remember right, the game didn't really start development till 2016, like actually putting the game together. It all just really feels like what happened with Anthem. Just bad mismanagement from top, trickling all the way down, cascading all the way down, and affecting everybody in the trenches and on the front lines. And the apology that they kicked out there, that the co-founder put out, it wasn't really much of an apology. It was more of a, yeah, our quality assurance guys, they didn't, the QA testing, they didn't report any of these bugs. I'm willing to bet that they reported all the bugs. They just didn't listen, didn't care, or just pushed the game out as they ignored them. That's probably what happened. That's what I think happened at any rate. Um, yeah, I mean, some of these bugs were blatantly obvious. A bunch of them had been fixed, and by the time I'd gotten the game and had gotten to play it, uh, many things had been fixed. But there's still plenty that goes wrong, and lots of little graphical things that pick up. And I am playing on the base Xbox One. I didn't expect miracles. Like I didn't expect anything graphically amazing. Looking at the screenshots, the videos that they showed at the different E3s and gaming conventions and events, it's like these are pre-rendered trailers and scenes. Like some of this might be in-game, but this is like, somebody's high-end optimal PC at the corporate office where they're rendering all of this. They put this all together. This isn't the Xbox One that they're showing everything on. But their CEOs, their executives, all throughout the previous year leading up to Cyberpunk's release, kept saying things like, oh, this game runs surprisingly well on the base Xbox and the base PlayStation 4. This is surprisingly good. It's going better than we thought. It's ready to ship now, basically. We're just putting the finishing touches on it. It's ready when it's ready. And it wasn't. It wasn't ready. They needed to let it go for a while. But I shouldn't keep this solely complaining about Cyberpunk, because especially if I'm going to do my own review on it. I'm not going to do an impromptu one right now, although I think I've given away a lot of my thoughts on where I land on it. Great game, crappy management behind it, screwed over their current staff, their existing staff, their former staff even. Anyways, moving on from all of that. Oh my god. The mess that I got myself into covering the occultist class. I can't say that it's super complicated. It all makes sense. It's just a lot to take in, and the way they have it done up in the book, they have their implements separate from their focus powers, separate from spell casting, when both of those things, focus powers and spell casting, are tied to the implements. And they should have, I don't know. I don't know how you could put them together without making just a big brick wall of text that's just fuck off awful to read. But it feels like it should have been edited, rewritten, maybe redone a couple of times, condensed, and made a little bit more clear that your implement choices affect your focus power choices as well as affect your spell casting. It's all there. It's just not put together well, and it's not the most clear. I've had to read it a couple of times and consult other online guides as I try to learn about this class and try to put it all together. It could be better, but, so far the feedback seems to have been great, though, even though I'm still learning about it. Have had more commenters than what I normally get coming onto these videos saying, wow, thank you, this has been really helpful. And honestly, that's just absolutely incredible for me. It's only, one person, two people, but still, that's awesome. Makes me feel really good that something that I've done has been helpful for someone else, and hopefully has made their own gaming experiences better. And I absolutely love that. I don't know. It's just, another reason for me to love gaming, getting to do stuff like this. It's work. Running this channel, it is work, and, balancing work with my wife, 2 kids, and also just a regular day job, 9 hours a day, including an hour lunch and all that. It's a lot trying to balance all of that out, as well as, different obligations and people that I need to see, chores that need to get done. It is work, but it's rewarding. And, maybe someday viewership gets to be high enough and enough people come along, maybe turn this into my regular career. Get to hang out with this one a little bit more often. By the way, Nora, can you say hello to everybody?
Hello, buddy.
There you have it.
Have it. Have it.
Did you eat yogurt? Hey, no, wait, I need that. Yep. Oh, goodness. Such a mess. Such a mess. But we'll get that cleaned right up. Nora, come here. Like I said, balancing all of that, taking care of the little ones, and making sure my wife's needs are tended to and all of that. It's work, it's a balancing act, and it's something where, I'm going to have to figure out the schedules, change things up a little bit possibly. I might start uploading more on the weekdays and try to leave the weekends for my family and all of that. Only time will tell. Just gonna have to play with it and see what ends up fitting. I may have to drop back down to 2 videos a week, which, that's not bad. The 3rd video a week was always just kind of a bonus thing to help me get through more of the information on classes and the fixes I'm proposing for stuff in D20 Modern. But, like I said, we'll see where we land. Only thing we can do is try and work towards the best possible outcome. But, speaking of D20 Modern, it's an older game at this point. I think if I remember right, it came out 2001, 2004, somewhere in there. So, it's between 16 and 20 some odd years old now. Came out towards the middle-ish end of 3rd edition Dungeons & Dragons, 3.5, right in there. And, you can really see and feel that in a lot of its rules. And you can also see where they started making changes. And you can see where those changes kind of ended up in the D20 Star Wars game and how they progressed from there. It's interesting seeing those little evolutions. But the last update D20 Modern really got wasn't even an update for the game. It was a supplemental rule set for 4th edition Dungeons & Dragons. And, God, what a mess 4th edition was. But despite how broken, buggy, and in desperate need of playtesting D20 Modern was, I mean, it was just so much fun getting lost in these different worlds and settings. I mean, the world was pretty consistently, was a pretty consistent shared world that me and 2 other friends would DM, my old friends Matt and Jesse. The world that was created was pretty intense. I mean, it was a campaign that started off in high school and kept going well into our 20s. I mean, it's a world where the Second American Civil War happened, the European Union collapsed, India and Pakistan nuked each other, Japan saw its resurgence and started conquering the Pacific. And it just went on and on. There's so many things that happened. Russia basically collapsed as well into several feuding states, although what else happened? South America, we didn't really get too much into. The furthest down we went was Mexico. During the Civil War, the revolutionary forces ended up winning, reduced the states to its original 13 colonies before conquering all of those. Canada ended up joining the U.S. for some reason. I did not make it to all the game sessions, so I don't really know all the details of what happened. I know at one point Mexico got annexed, but it did not appreciate that. The government and the cartels all kind of went, no, and secondly, hell no, and started fighting with all of that and making this whole sprawling mess. It was it made sense, and it gave us another area to play around in with the various characters and stuff. But the thing with D20 Modern was, especially with that setting, because magic was real in reality, and also our DM decided he wanted all of fiction to be real too, so that got kind of messy. Predators, the xenomorphs from Aliens, everything was real, and we ran into everything. I mean, the dude would just pour a lot of things from everything. Like towards the end there, the last couple of times we gamed with him, he basically had an end of the world scenario happen, and demon versions of the Titans from Attack on Titan showed up. and they were kind of crossed with the creature from Cloverfield. Hello, you. They were crossed with the creature from Cloverfield, and that, the skin that they shed turned into other little monsters that we had to contend with. And they would open up their mouths and belch forth these tides of demons. People would get possessed and basically be demon-possessed zombies and just come sprinting after you, as well as, regular running zombies. Hello, little one. What are you doing there? Huh? So, yeah. It's messy, but it's fun. And part of why it's messy is also a big reason why it's fun. It's an adaptable game setting. It's an adaptable rule set. That's why, the biggest complaint, especially when it comes to the base classes, is it's hard to differentiate the characters. Well, hey, Nora, honey. Nora, you left the water running in the bathroom. Can you go shut it off? Can you shut off the water, please? Thank you, sweetheart. So, the flexibility means it's hard to differentiate the base classes from, well, if not one another, it's hard to tell a strong hero apart from a strong hero from a strong hero from a strong hero. Same with the fast hero. But the idea is that, with a little bit of work, effort, you could tweak and adjust it for a wide variety of settings. You could go for a zero magic setting. You could go for a high fantasy setting. And with the different support materials, the splat books they put out there, D20 Past, Future, Cyberpunk. Actually, I don't think they did Cyberpunk. You okay? Did you bump your jaw? Mwah. Mwah. You're okay. I'm worried about you getting hurt, little one. But, the idea was that you could adjust it. You could play with different settings. Now, as I said, my friends like to pour everything in. Everything. So all the support materials, all those books came into play, which really resulted in things breaking real bad.
I'm done.
You're all done?
Bye-bye.
You want to stop streaming now?
Stop streaming.
Yeah? Can we stream for a few more minutes?
More please.
Just a little bit more, please?
More please.
A little bit more, and then we'll turn it off, and we'll break out the colors, and I'll color with you for a while. How's that sound? Oh, and today, we're going to get to go see Grandma. Another reason why I don't have much prepared today, we're going to go see her great-grandma, my grandma, and have some fun with that. So, I'm not going to have much time today to record and edit and do all these things. Yes, Miss Nora. What do you think about the economic situation sweeping across the globe? What do you think? Cutting inside as always. Anyways, but yeah, so D20 Modern could easily get broken, especially when you're mixing in all the different books and support materials and stuff. So, mix and match, pick and choose at your leisure, but do so with some caution and consideration for what you're doing. Also, definitely, if you're planning on running this game, take some time to figure out what you like, what you don't like, and obviously I have to recommend my own fixes that I've put out there, but by no means feel obligated to use them. Don't feel tied down or constrained by those fixes either. Do your own fixes if you feel up for it. Because there's plenty to love here. There's plenty to love with this game. There's so many memories. Actually, I should probably do a video on the different factions as well, because they have a wonderful array of factions. But the biggest missed opportunity, I think, was definitely not having gangs of biker wizards. By which I mean the bikers are, the wizards are sitting in the sidecar. They're in the The vans with those epic motifs painted and scrawled out on the sides. The different constellations, galactic scenes, unicorns, winged tigers, all of that crazy nonsense. Just something plastered along the side of a van, and you go inside the van, and it's enchanted with Mordenkainen's magnificent mansion, and it's way bigger than normal. Basically, a whole shop inside of a van, and they're able to deploy motorcycles out the back where their bodyguards and apprentices or whoever is driving can roll out the back, armed with swords, lances, shotguns, submachine guns. And the wizards are able to cast their spells under some degree of protection while zipping around through the streets of, you want to go LA, New York, or out in the Badlands and relatively unpopulated areas, stuff like that. That's just so damn cool. Very, very, very Hollywood, I'll admit, but still, so cool. I mean, so much fun. I think it is, at any rate. I wouldn't be gassing on about it like I am if I didn't think this was great. And there's just so much you can do and so much you can add in with it. The mixing and matching is just endless. There's so many opportunities for so many good things, good storytelling, and good gameplay. I mean, it's just absolutely incredible. And it's the good storytelling part that I really like, getting together with friends. Sure, most of the time I'm DMing, and I have this story in mind. But as any experienced DM knows, it's not often that the players follow the exact story that you had in mind. Hell, as often as not, they'll go off and find their own stories and adventures. But you want to be flexible and be willing to roll with that a little bit. Maybe gently nudge the players back on course into some of the content and ideas that you had prepared. But with that flexibility, though, you will find opportunities to make new and better stories. And I say better. It's just something different, and it's those different stories that come up that keep you coming back to this kind of a game. It's what makes these games so much better than, well, say, console RPGs and the like, because at a certain point, they do have to put limits on where you can go. Is trying to program all of that is just, it's a huge, huge thing to try to put any of that together. I mean, you have all these open world games, but you take a look at Fallout 76. That was missing NPCs for how long? And it was just boring and repetitive. And then, not to mention, the bugs would ruin progress. You don't really have bugs like that in these tabletop RPGs. The world is only limited by your imagination. All of that is absolutely so much fun. And, I should say the other limitation is, how quick on your feet you can be as a DM, or as a player even. Knowing what the answer is or what the answer should be or could be. Well, it's kind of always hard to know what exactly is the right thing to do in the moment. But, overall, I think that's still a worthwhile experience. And while I abhor what's happened with COVID-19 and all of that going on with the pandemic right now, I am happy that, in the midst of all of this, people were able to find some kind of comfort in playing Dungeons and Dragons and Pathfinder and all these different tabletop games. The Roll20 servers being so flooded that they had to shut down and beef them up and, improve how well everything went. That was kind of cool. I mean, again, I don't like the reasons why it happened, but the fact that people could find some kind of comfort, I think was nice. I do think that was a good thing. Um, a minor good thing in the face of everything happening in the world, but still, something good. Something decent. A way for people to connect with one another and to, ease their tensions, forget about their worries for a little while, and just kick back, play a game, and tell some good stories with some friends, and possibly making some new friends. I mean, that's what all of this is about, is those stories, the friendship, and all of those little memories. I mean, shoot, I remember so much from when I was, 13, 14. That's about when I started playing Dungeons and Dragons. was second edition D&D. God, long time ago. Oh God, Thaco. To hit armor class 0, I mean, I'll try to keep it short, but the idea behind to hit armor class 0, for those of you who don't know, was you wanted a negative armor score. A negative armor score was what you subtracted from your opponent's ability to hit you. If you had a positive armor score, that was an additional bonus for them to hit you. So, having a lower armor score was better. And, it's simple enough, but the logic is just so reversed. Third edition was definitely an improvement on that. I know some people will disagree with me, and that's fine. No problem there. I like that it's simplified, and honestly, that's something 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons does well. It has less flexibility as a result, and my goodness, I have to fix all that again. But it has some less flexibility as a result. There are some things that are going to just be the more optimal choice, certain builds. And that's true of any game, but 5th edition, because it's faster and easier to understand, generally means there's fewer options. Now, those options are expanding with books like Xanathar's Guide to Everything and the Acquisitions Incorporated book, which is, oh my God, it's just fantastic. I mean, look at that. I love it. I love Acquisitions Incorporated. I've enjoyed reading stuff by the Penny Arcade guys for years. This is just such a great book. It adds so much humor, a different take on D&D. It's something that I really, really appreciate. And, those options that come out do help to add more variety, but I don't know. It's I appreciate 5th edition for what it is, and I think it's fun, and I've enjoyed being able to run a couple of games off and on here and there with a small group of friends. I'm hoping to get to DM a little bit more often for folks, but we'll see what the future holds in that regard. But 5th edition is probably not my favorite RPG overall. It's not bad. It's not bad by any stretch. I love it. It's fun, but Pathfinder, I think, just hits that point of options and simplicity because it's improved from 3rd edition. It's condensed down some of the skills, like having just stealth instead of hide and move silently as separate skills. It's combined spot, listen, and search into perception. And it did some things with feats that just made some absolute sense to me, like adding in deadly aim, which is basically power attack, but for archery, for ranged attacks. And it made archery and ranged attacks actually awesome. You can do so much damage as an archer in Pathfinder, whereas 3rd edition, 3.5 edition, you could only really do a lot of damage if you went into a couple of different specialized advanced classes, prestige classes. And usually then your range was limited to like 30 feet, 60 feet. You couldn't be an effective archer at great ranges. You were kind of more of a skirmishing sort of archer, moving and shooting, which, that still fits. It still makes a certain amount of sense. But, as soon as somebody got beyond, if they were at 65 feet, you lost all that ability to deal damage. It was really unfortunate. And Pathfinder really changed that a lot, quite a lot, and in great ways, in very good ways. So, Pathfinder, I think just for me and for most of my friends, just kind of hits that sweet spot for us, where it's a good amount of flexibility, not too heavy on the number crunch, though there still is a little bit. And if you compare it to 5th edition, then there's a lot more, but I don't know. I think it's because I grew up with 2nd edition and then did 3rd edition that it doesn't seem that bad. Also, Rollmaster. Rollmaster, oh my God, you want to talk about number crunch. Jesus, there is just so much number crunch with Rollmaster. I mean, when I got introduced to it, my friend, the guy named Lyle, who DMs it, he recommended, we use this Excel spreadsheet to calculate it all and get everything done. And I thought, no, let's do this the old-fashioned way. Let's do this the right way so we really learn it. Took us 4 hours. 4 hours to roll up a character. And that's because we had to go through several different books to try to find, all the little things. That character was Varric of the Andulian Plains people. We used the base setting for Rollmaster. I'm spacing on what the name of the world is, but he let me write up the backstory for these people, and they live out near the edge of the Zor Waste, between the plains and borders between those absolutely horrid wastelands, those irradiated, hell-blasted landscapes, and the more civilized regions to the west, east, and south, if I recall correctly. And yeah, no, it ended up being a lot of fun. And again, it's another example where there's just so much. There's so many options. But that also means it can take a little bit longer. Like, it's one of those things where if you have an option that your character uses with any frequency, you're better off just either bookmarking where all the stuff is at for your character, or printing it out and keeping it with the character sheet. But that also means that your character sheet might end up being, 8 pages, 9 pages. Actually, let me go ahead and grab it real quick. I think this is worthwhile to go over. I'll be right back, folks. Hello, Nora. Ah, yes. I'm just sitting on the ground here. Like, there's not a whole terribly much I'm just sitting. I'm not on a couch, not on a chair, not in a chair, not in any of that. In case anybody was curious. Also, my daughter's made a little bit of a mess, but nothing I can't handle. But anyways, I was going to show my Rollmaster character to you folks. Now, and I should also mention, I opted to take a couple extra sheets, and my sheets are also single-sided. I would have preferred double-sided if I could do it, but here we go. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 sheets right there. And then 12, if I could get them separated, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Okay, so some of these are not his, or things that he doesn't do regularly, but this is what the attack chart for the longsword looks like. If you're wondering why it looks like this, it's because each column here is for different armor classes. Armor class of 1 is basically somebody who's in the barest of clothing, or possibly even just buck naked. And 20 is all the way up into like full-on plate armor, helmet, shield, all of that. And depending on what you roll on a D100, this determines how much damage you do, and if you do a critical, and then what type of a critical hit you do. And then if you do end up scoring a critical hit, you get to roll on another chart to see how much of a crit it really was, how much damage you did. So, you want to talk about number crunch. There's a lot of number crunch with this game. It's been fun though, but there's also things that just kind of hamper it down. Like our DM, bless his heart, love him to death, great guy. Also, great story overall. But there's moments where the game is just really slowed down because he's using his iPad, his notepad thing, to scroll through about 5 different books to find what a specific thing does, like specific spells or a certain kind of attack, or he's looking up a certain item or a particular monster. And, it can really slow down the game. And then there's certain fights that just drag out really hard. For example, there are some crits on the critical hit chart that just do instant death. Like, you decapitate your opponent, you cut their spine in half, you remove limbs or puncture their heart, you completely fry and immolate them and reduce them to ash, or you explode them and turn them into pink mist and memories. uh, any number of things. But that's specifically for mortal flesh and blood kind of creatures. If you're facing undead, demons, anything like that, then, well, then a lot of those things are immune to those kind of effects. And so you can't insta kill them. You can't drop them and reduce all their hit points. It also means that you could have the toughest level 18, level 20, heavily kitted out fighter with all the most incredible gear, or this top level mage wreathed in all these protective spells. But if you roll high enough and you wrap your crits, meaning you go over 150, say you roll a 300, that's two 150s, so that's max damage on both of those hits, technically, and you're doing two crits on one hit. And so, you're doing all this damage, and you can potentially, just on a lucky roll, wipe somebody out, and you could be a level 2 person, a level 2 character, not even like a particularly skilled or great fighter. If you just keep rolling a 96 through 100 on your D100 rolls, well, it's just going to keep adding up and up. Then you subtract their defenses. Daddy will help you. Oh, such a lovely coloring. Can I show everybody? Show everybody? Doc McStuffins looks absolutely lovely in red with her little dragon buddy. That's awesome, honey. Thank you for sharing that. But, yeah, so it's unlikely, it's statistically unlikely to keep rolling that well, but it's possible, and it's kind of happened a little bit over our games. I've gone up to something like a total of 500 on some of my rolls, but that's because, I wrapped 3 times. Just rolling on the dice, kept rolling that 96 through 100 range, and then my fighter already has like a ridiculous bonus to his longsword attack skill, so have wiped out some higher end opponents. And it's not. It sounds like I'm knocking Rollmaster. I still enjoy it. It's still been a lot of fun. Probably partly because I'm getting to play and not DMing, but it's not without its own flaws. No game is perfect. Every game is going to falter at something, but overall, it's still pretty fun. It's just there's a lot there. It's definitely not a game I'd recommend for newbies, newcomers to tabletop gaming. Start off with 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, or I've been hearing good things about 6th edition Shadowrun, though I haven't looked at it myself. 5th edition Shadowrun, which is the book I have here. Again, I love the cyberpunk setting. I love that they blended fantasy with it, but the rules are a little bit much sometimes. Things that should be fast and explosive and happen really fast have too much math to them. Like explosions, you have to figure out, okay, it's bouncing off of this wall, coming around this corner, this wall, or calculating out swimming. It's like, can't I just say that he passed his swim check, and because he passed by this many successes or hits, he's going this far? No, they have the mathematical equation in there. I still ignore that rule, and I go with interpreting the die rolls, but not something I'd recommend for new people. Like somebody who's never picked up a tabletop game before, 5th edition all the way. 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons is great for people that are learning how to play tabletop RPGs. It's great introductory game. For a lot of the same reasons, skip 4th edition. It was not good as an introductory game. It just really wasn't a great game at all. If you enjoyed it, sorry, I apologize. It's just where I sit at on it. 5th edition was not good Dungeons and Dragons. At least I don't think so. And a fair number of people seem to agree. So, anyways, let's just move on from that. I don't want to start edition wars. We don't need to renew that conflict here. But yeah, Rollmaster, lots of number crunch. Lots of options. Lots of really cool things you can do. But too many options. Too many things. And it's led to some hefty character sheets. Like this whole binder is just specifically for Rollmaster and my one character. I'm also keeping track of most of the party treasure, though, so that's part of it. I also have a special horsey and all of that, all these wonderful things. But, still. Rollmaster, pick that up later. Pick it up later. Learn some other games first. Learn what to do in and with other games before you go to Rollmaster. Ah, goodness. Holy shit, it's been 40 minutes already. Wow. Well, I'd say that's probably been about most of it so far. I think this has been a pretty solid little hangout we've had going here. My little one did ask me a little bit ago to stop streaming and just spend time with her, so I think I'm going to go ahead and follow through and do that. But thank you all for joining me today, those of you who did. Those of you who may be just watching this on your own time in the future, hello, and also goodbye. We're going to call it here. If you enjoyed today's stream, well, go on down there, hit the like button, go into the comments and let me know down below. If you didn't like it and have some thoughts that you just really need to get off your chest, any particular point you disagreed with me, or if you just hated the fact that I was just rambling nonsensically, well, go on down there and let me know about that too. Only way to improve things is to get that kind of a feedback anyways. And if you did enjoy today's video though, go on through, find some more of the content here from the Gamers Den, and just dig into it, enjoy. I'm going to see if I can't find a way to start putting up some videos over here at the end of these streams. Or, if this hasn't been your first stop and you've enjoyed hanging out with me or taking part in this video, watching it, however you've come across it, well then, go on down there, hit the subscribe button. You must be enjoying something, especially if you've made it almost 42 minutes in. But with that said, I've been your host, Jordan, your master of lore and storyteller extraordinaire. My most adorable co-host, Nora, journeyman storyteller and initiate to the Seventh Circle of Lore, has been here as well, although oddly quiet for a decent chunk of the stream, so this is where we're going to call it. Thank you all so much for your time, and you all have yourselves a great day. We'll see you on the next one.